Z-Day. Part 1. In the Beginning. Read by Tom Jackson. Everyone wondered how the world would end. But December came and went. The movie 2012 was laughed at more now than when it was released. Thrown into bargain basement bins everywhere. Better as a coaster than as entertainment these days. It's what I use my copy for. I wonder if that woman is still waiting at the top of the mountains in France for the alien spaceship to take her away. The only reason the men in white coats haven't taken her away is because they can't be asked to walk up the mountain. But life carried on as normal. Can't wait to tell my kids, if I have any, how I survived 2012, bird flu, swine flu. Load of shit. It was that kind of media sensationalism and hype that led to our current problems that started 8 hours ago. This is how the world ends. I woke up late as usual, staying up watching TV I had no interest in. I looked at my clock. 25 minutes to get dressed, get to the bus stop for the staff bus that ferries staff from site to site. I threw my clothes on and walked to the bathroom. Spent 5 minutes fighting my hair to stay down or in some kind of semblance of style. I gave up, winked at the mirror. Just one of those weird habits I have. I work in a hospital, nothing fancy, I'm just a cleaner. But it pays the bills, just about. The walk to work was the usual uneventful freezing cold, rainy misery you would expect from southeast England in January. But at least short enough not to be soaked to the bone, but long enough for a smoke. After stepping in sick from the night before, when the drunks that are still swooning through the street, I swore and put out my cigarette. I crossed the road, seeing a staff bus already waiting. I used to walk the 2 or so miles to the hospital, but that got old real fast when the rain of summer ended and the freezing rain of winter began. I got on the bus, the driver completely blanking me as usual. I made my way through the narrow aisle, looking at the still half asleep faces of the 7:30 Monday morning shift. I sat in my usual spot at the back on the left, always the same spot. That's the thing about commuters, always sticking with the same old seats and spots. I plugged in my headphones and dozed in my seat, the scenery passing by my blank gaze. The bus pulled up outside the hospital main entrance and the passengers slowly disembarked in one slow rambling line. The revolving door was still acting up, stopping halfway through the rotation, keeping you out in the cold for a little bit longer, like it had some personal disdain for you. I walked through the lobby, already starting to bustle with people who'd gotten here far too early for their morning appointments, and could now enjoy a 2-hour wait staring at a screen that would tell them they would have to wait an extra hour on top of that, because some doctor was late or sick. Hospital staff were always the biggest hypochondriacs. Oh well, at least they could have a disgusting sandwich from the shop, both disgusting in price and taste. I headed downstairs, ignoring the lift, down 2 flights, swiped my card, signed in and walked off without a word to anyone. I already knew my ward for the day, same as every other day, for the last 3 months. Not that I minded, I'd worked with this group for a while now. They knew me, I knew them. They were a good group. I took the lift this time, sod doing 4 flights of stairs at this time in the morning, headed past the maternity ward, swamped my damn card again, headed down the corridor to my area for the day. After a brief argument with the card scanner, which seemed not to want to read my card, mainly because I was trying to swipe my ATM card, I should really use my wallet. I walked through the door. My ward is basically 3 corridors in a Y shape. 10 rooms, 5 on each side, a nurse's station on the base part of the Y, and the other 2 parts having 10 rooms and a nurse's station on each side. And to the left, a large waiting room where there was rarely anyone waiting, mainly due to the fact there was another entrance there which had a swipe card reader, so no members of the public could get in unless they pushed the buzzer and waited 10 minutes for someone to respond and let them in. I muttered good morning to the nurses who were just getting their updates on the patients from their night shift and headed straight on to my walk-in cupboard. I spent some time fighting the cleaning trolley out of it. Someone had managed to wedge it behind a stack of paper towels again. I pulled it out and walked in, took off my bag and coat, threw them on top of the cupboard and popped open a can of iron brew. I'm really starting to get addicted to this stuff. After 15 minutes I realised I was on my own for the day, or at least till 11:30 when the next shift would be on. 4 hours on my own. God, I love Mondays. After a fun hour and a half of scrubbing toilets and emptying bins, the volunteer pushing a trolley of papers came round. I got a paper and a Red Bull. He didn't stock iron brew. I retreated to my cupboard, down the rest of my iron brew and started on the Red Bull, browsing the paper. Gun control controversies. Why do Americans need an automatic weapon? You're not John Wayne and this is not the Wild West. Taxes. Jimmy Savile. God. Will that ever end? The door opened. It was Jade, the nurse's assistant. She was short, black hair, pale face, reasonably good looking. She smiled. Patient's going home for you. So, room to clean. Oh, give her some. She grabs my Red Bull and takes a swig. Morning, Ringo. You're welcome, by the way. Fuck off, she replied, laughing. Which room? Number 22. Just a normal clean, nothing fancy. Could start it now. A&E have a patient they want sent up quickly. The fun never stops, does it? I muttered. She smiled and left. I looked back at the paper. Sports would have to wait. The patient always leaves something behind when they're discharged from hospital. Socks, coat, chocolate, a pair of false teeth one time. This time it was an old leather-bound Bible. To Mrs. H. Collins, written on the inside. Love, Frank. Kiss, kiss. I put it in my pocket. It obviously had emotional value and I didn't want to put it out where odds are I'd end up spilling something on it. This room was a little different from the others. It was on the top left side of the Y and was an isolation room, although I'd never seen it used as anything other than just a general patient room. It had 2 entrances, a plain simple pine door that led directly into the room and another pine door that led into a small room with a table and sink before another door led into the room. This room had a vent and a pressure monitor. I had no idea how it worked, just if you didn't close the door properly after 5 minutes it would start beeping madly, driving you insane until you closed it and hit the silence button. After mopping the floor I told Jade it was all done and went back to the cupboard and caught a glimpse of the new patient coming in. He was in his 50s, a little heavy, thinning grey hair, big red nose, sweating profusely, but pale as hell. The guy looked like death. I wasn't too concerned about the mask he was wearing. The ward was a respiratory ward after all. The staff knew what they were doing. They were dedicated and cared. If he could get better, we'd make it happen. I let the cupboard door close behind me and went back to the sports section. Thank you for listening. Part 2 coming 20th January to YouTube.